Well, good evening. That's horrible. Okay, we're going to try this again. Well, good evening. Okay, that's better. Ricardo, how about a round of applause for Ricardo and his group that put this lovely evening together. And I want to thank him for inviting me and my lovely wife Leanna to be with all of you tonight. It's good to look around and see so many good friends here in Eagle Pass and Maverick County. Ricardo started calling me a couple of months ago, asking me if I would invite Mayor Julian Castro to come and speak. And he called, and he called, and he called, and he text messaged, and he text messaged, and he text messaged, and the mayor will probably tell you how many times I was calling him and text messaging him. He's very diligent, and obviously gets the job done. So another round of applause for Ricardo Calderon. Thank you very much. But actually, inviting Mayor Castro to be here was easy. If you recall, he was here a few months ago, right before the November election. And without hesitation, Mayor Castro drove down the Eagle Pass by himself in his car to join us for a rally, a Get Out the Vote rally, last October. And then he and I drove together to Del Rio, and he drove back to San Antonio. The mayor and his wife Erica could be anywhere tonight, Saturday night before Easter Sunday. And the fact that they chose to be here with their family says a lot about their commitment to the state of Texas. You know, one thing about Julian is he's never forgotten his roots. He has never forgotten where he comes from. He grew up on the west side of San Antonio. He went to Stanford undergrad and Harvard Law. And tonight he's keynote speaker for Eagle Pass. He's been on Face the Nation, Meet the Press, CNN, Charlie Rose, you name it, every talk show at the national level that we watch every Saturday or Sunday morning. It's easy to introduce Mayor Julian Castro. Of course, you can read more about him in the newspaper. And I kidded to him when we walked in and said, Mayor, I don't even get on the front page of the newspaper here. But it's easy to introduce him because, again, his resume is quite impressive and continues to grow on a daily basis. A few things about Mayor Castro that I'll add that's not in the newspaper. You know, of course, he's smart, he's hardworking, he's diligent, Mayor, I can't read your writing there. Oh, he's good looking, he's good looking. It works every time. But seriously, Julian Castro is a good friend of mine. I've known him for many years. We've worked together for many years, solving the different problems facing our families and the children, not only in San Antonio, but on a statewide level as well. And Representative Vidas will tell you that he is, by the way, Representative Vidas has done an exceptional job representing this district, representing Eagle Pass and Maverick County. He hit the ground running at the Capitol. And he's only been there 3 months, and he's already considered to be a leader of South Texas. How about a round of applause for Representative Vidas? And he will tell you his office is actually located right below mine, so I get to keep an eye on him, so you don't need to worry. But he's doing a wonderful job. But I think he will agree with me when I tell you this, that Mayor Julian Castro, if you look at the face of Texas, and if you look at the future of Texas, you see Julian Castro. He had spoke at the Democratic National Convention as we all watched him in awe. We're so impressed with how articulate he was about the issues that are important to every single person in this room, every single family in Maverick County and across the country. So without further ado, help me welcome my good friend, and now your good friend, Mayor Julian Castro.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first, Thank you very much for that introduction. You know, politicians often call each other friends, but this is one of the rare occasions when I can actually say that's true. Carlos has been a friend for many years now. Joaquin and I have known him for over a decade. Practiced law together once. He has the best line of anybody that I'm glad he didn't use today. You know, my brother Joaquin, we're twins. Joaquin goes around telling people that I'm the ugly one. Carlos sometimes introduces us by saying that it's hard to tell us apart because we're both ugly. Thank you very much, Carlos, to you and Liana for being here and for your support, and more importantly, for your great representation of the senatorial district that includes this area. I also want to thank Poncho Nevares for his great leadership up there in Austin. I got to tell you that y'all have a true fighter for Eagle Pass on your hands. Somebody that's doing everybody proud and continues to be proud. And to the mayor, thank you for your leadership. This guy makes me feel old, 29 years old. I got elected at 26 to the city council. He said he got elected at 22. I don't know. I'm starting to get some gray hair. Thank you for your leadership of Eagle Pass. And of course, I'm glad to be here. Was excited to get the invitation from Ricardo. I agree with Carlos. Ricardo is persistent. I think we got like 15 different requests to be here. But I'm very glad to be a part of it here at the 19th Annual Eagle Pass Business Journal Awards. I'm here with my wife, Erica. Erica and I today feel very fortunate. We're the parents of a 4-year-old little girl, Karina. Some of y'all may remember her from the convention. She flipped her hair and stole the show that evening, and she's actually with us here in Eagle Pass tonight. My mother, Rosie, is here. I got to confess and apologize in advance. We're going to go relieve my mother a little bit early of her babysitting duties, so if I walk out, please don't be offended. But I'm happy to be with you. And I'm happy to be in Eagle Pass because Eagle Pass is part of the dynamic region that is South Texas. And that region, of course, includes about 15 counties that stretch all the way up to San Antonio and beyond. This region truly represents the future of Texas and the United States. And I say that for a couple of different reasons. The first is that today there is more economic opportunity than there ever has been in the history of this city and this region. The Eagle Ford Shale is creating unprecedented job opportunities and wealth in the community. In the 14 gas-producing counties involved in the Eagle Ford Shale, in the last couple of years, there have been $28 billion invested, the most invested for any similar oil and gas field in the world. It's had the impact of over $20 billion to that economy. It's had an impact of supporting 86,000 jobs that are directly or indirectly tied to the activity. And we can see the impact every day in this city, in every single city and county, all the way through South Texas. The second reason that I say that you are the future is demography. Eagle Pass has, just like San Antonio, everything that folks are going to look for in the 21st century when they think about investment. It has a low cost of doing business. It has good access to natural resources, good access to infrastructure, and demographically it looks like the Texas and the America of tomorrow. In San Antonio, we call our city the new face of the American dream. And that's just as much true of a city like Eagle Pass as it is of San Antonio. I'm convinced that in this 21st century, just like New York and Chicago and San Francisco and a few other American cities defined success in the 20th century, places like San Antonio, South Texas, Phoenix, Dallas, Austin, Albuquerque are going to define success in the 21st century. And finally, you're part of the future because the future in this continent is becoming more north-south than ever before. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the whole story was about an east-west axis, New York to Los Angeles. More and more, as population growth comes up in Latin America and in the younger, more Hispanic parts of the country, Texas, California, and so forth, that story is becoming a north-south axis. So that cities like Eagle Pass, like Del Rio, like Laredo, like San Antonio, and Austin, and Dallas, and Houston, and so forth, will become more and more prominent as the century goes along. The question really is, as we stand here today in the year 2013, what do we make of this unprecedented economic opportunity that's in front of us? I suggest that we need to do three things. The first is that we need to invest in brain power. You see, I'm convinced that in this 21st century, brain power is the new currency of success. That those communities that create it will be the communities that thrive. And those communities that don't are going to be the ones that fall behind. A couple of years ago in San Antonio, we kicked off a process called SA 2020. The idea behind SA 2020 was to think through the next 10 years in San Antonio. We asked San Antonians to dream about what kind of city we want to be on Friday, September 25th, 2020, which is an actual date, 10 years after we kicked it off on Saturday, September 25th, 2010. More than 5,000 San Antonians participated in that visioning effort. And they set specific numeric goals in 11 different issue areas, from health and fitness to urban redevelopment to natural resource development. But the number one issue that they put on the table for San Antonio to improve upon was educational achievement. They said that San Antonio should aim to engineer the greatest turnaround that any city has seen in educational achievement by the year 2020. And because of that, we have in earnest invested in ensuring that comes true. In 2010, we kicked off something called Cafe College. Cafe College is a one-stop center for folks from middle school to high school to go to and get expert advice in counseling and expert advice in admissions and financial aid and counseling, ACT preparation and SAT preparation courses for free, because we found that in our public schools, the ratio between counselors and students was 1 counselor to 420 students. We also found that, for instance, if a student fills out one FAFSA, the free application for student aid, they're 350% more likely to actually go to college than if they don't. In the almost 3 years since we kicked Cafe College off, we've had more than 20,000 students take advantage of that effort. And we're starting to see the results. From 2010 to 2011, there was a 7% increase in the number of students going to college in San Antonio. More than 11,000 people. Thank you. Then, just this past November, the voters of San Antonio approved pre-K for SA. I know we have some teachers here in the audience. Pre-K for SA was an effort to ask San Antonians to invest in high-quality, full-day pre-kindergarten for the 4-year-olds of our city. Because we found that even though the state of Texas invests in half a day of pre-K, and our school districts sometimes supplement that to provide a full day, the fact is that 5,700 students in San Antonio, 5,700 4-year-olds, still weren't getting high-quality full-day pre-K. Now, because of the voters, they absolutely will, so that they never get behind in the first place, and they can have a successful education in San Antonio, Texas. The second thing that I'm convinced that we need to do is that we need to make the right investments in infrastructure. We need to invest in our roads. We need to invest in the availability of water. We need to invest in our bridges and our ports. The fact is that here in South Texas and Eagle Pass, we live in the fastest growing area of the state. But sometimes you wouldn't know that by the investments that have been made in the past. In fact, if you look at investments in roads and bridges, look at the availability of road options, you could conclude easily that we've fallen behind in South Texas over the years. And not just the infrastructure that's physical, but also, as my brother has pointed out, something that he calls the infrastructure of opportunity. Investment in our schools, in our colleges and universities. Why don't we have a law school in South Texas? How about a dental school? What about great engineering programs? We're finally going to get in South Texas a medical school, but that ought to be just the beginning of significant investments in this kind of infrastructure that ensures that folks can reach their dreams in life. And then finally, I'm convinced that the third thing we need to do well is ensure that we work regionally to accomplish the goals that we set out. You see, oftentimes, and the mayor can tell you this, I know I can tell you this from my experience, oftentimes as local elected officials, we kind of get myopic. The voters that elect you, they elect you to get something done for your city. And so the temptation is always to focus first on what's happening within the borders of your community. But the truth is that in this 21st century global economy, there's no one city or one county that can make success happen on its own. Whether we're talking about transportation, or about water, or about education, or just about anything else, the most successful places in the United States and around the world are those places that work together, that look out for each other's interests. And so it is that we must ensure that when the legislature meets in Austin every other year, or it comes budget time with the federal government, that San Antonio and Eagle Pass and Del Rio and Laredo and Brownsville and every place in between are up there in Austin, working together, looking out for each other, making sure that our voices are heard together, that collectively we have a powerful impact on where investments are made by Austin and by Washington. The good news is that Eagle Pass and San Antonio are blessed with great representatives. But to the extent that all of us, in our capacity, as policymakers, as business leaders, as employees, as nonprofit directors, work to help them make the case, I believe that this entire region will be the beneficiary because of it. You know, at the Democratic National Convention, I had the opportunity to speak about my grandmother. My grandmother, her name was Victoria Castro, and she came to the United States when she was 6 years old, and she ended up working her entire life as a maid, a cook, and a babysitter because she dropped out in elementary school. And she worked very hard so that my mother could graduate from high school and then go on to college, and my brother and I could have even more opportunity. The reason that after the 15th time I said yes to Ricardo is that when my grandmother came from Coahuila in 1922, she actually came through Eagle Pass. You see, for her, Eagle Pass was her Ellis Island. It was the place that was America, the first impression. I know that in your lives and the lives of so many Americans, there's a Victoria Castro, somebody that worked very hard so that you could have the opportunities that you have in business, in politics, in life. And I'm convinced that if we work hard together in our own capacities, then the dreams that all of those folks from prior generations had for us, and for the generations that are younger and still to come, then those dreams can come true. And that together, that wonderful potential that is Eagle Pass in South Texas and San Antonio can help make sure that we create not just a more prosperous generation for Texas, but that we're part of a more powerful and stronger America, and a 21st century that truly belongs to the United States and is another American century. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.